Hello everyone, and welcome to Suzuka for a special event, a non-championship race of the DRM trophy. This is technically not part of the rest of the DRM trophy, which of course has been streamed to this channel previously. This is indeed a standalone event, and we still have all of the same rules, the same regulations. Most of the drivers are in the same cars as well. There are still two classes as well with Division 2. Actually, let's quickly check who's leading that. I believe it may be Tony Talviti. Yes, it is. Okay, so Tony Talviti currently leading Division 2 with Lauren Lance leading Division 1, and for all intents and purposes it is pretty much the same as every other round of DRM, except for the fact this is a non-championship round, and that's because it was scheduled and planned after the rest of the series, and therefore is not part of the actual series. Slightly fewer drivers here today, but that really won't matter because Suzuka and SimRacingOnline always produce wonderful events together, and wonderful events in general. And with the multi-class nature of it as well, we probably shouldn't see too much lap read today. It's not a short course, but it's going to be an interesting race nonetheless. Of course, because this is a standalone race, we don't have to worry about like championship standings or anything like that, as Filip Stojanovic goes onto a lap. Let's ride on board with Filip Stojanovic, actually. One of the beta testers of this mod, taking us around the Suzuka circuit in one of the cars that he helped to put into this game, the Toyota Celica. All of these cars, late 70s and early 80s DRM cars, of course, German touring cars at the time. Through turn 7, the Dunlop curve down towards the Degners. Stojanovic currently second in the order. He's slightly down on his time, I think. Possibly going to struggle to get close to Lons on this lap, runs a little wide. But anyway, still pushing for it. Into the hairpin he goes. This one of the tightest corners in Grand Prix racing. Very, very tight. Misses the apex, but that's okay. It's slightly, it's technically slightly banked. It's not exactly the flattest of corners, and as a result, you can afford to take a slightly different line and carry a decent amount of speed through it. Into Spoon Curve. This is one of the corners that most people know of Suzuka, or at least most racing fans know of Suzuka. Kicking the tail out on the exit. Suzuka, a track that benefits high downforce, high grip cars. These ones, not quite that style. You have to really drive them with the rear a bit. But as we head towards 130R, not flat but still pretty fast. Stojanovic possibly could have used more of the track there. Into the chicane. The Casio triangle to end the lap. Does he come into the pits or does he finish it? He's going to finish it. Not sure it's going to be any quicker. In fact, he is quite a bit down on his time. But doesn't matter too much because the nature of these cars mean that you can go for multiple laps at a time. And as a result, he probably won't lose too much from that at all. Thanks to Filip Stojanovic for this camera set, I believe, unless I am very much mistaken. Stojanovic developed a camera set of his own and sent it to me today, and it's looking pretty good. I'm not sure if it's this one or the other one that he designed, but whichever one it is, it's pretty good. As he heads up through the famous Suzuka S's. 15 drivers have now set a lap because Kimi Martikainen has come through to set 1 as we've been talking. Let's look up the road a bit to see if anyone else is on a lap. What about Maxim Tendel in the Div 2 car? He is one of the drivers. Oh no, he has set a lap, hasn't he? He's P12 overall. Tony Salviti's doing a great job. He's in the top 5 overall. And that's not just because there are fewer DRM Div 1 cars. In fact, I think there might be fewer Div 2 cars in this. Oh, now who was that? James Russell goes 5th. And he is in a Porsche, so Talviti still leads that time. Let's take a look back to Tendil, and he's just actually got out the way of Filip Stojanovic there. Stojanovic, of course, on a slightly quicker lap. Talviti has gone back to the pits, so Talviti will not be going any quicker here. And it's all down to his opponents to try to dislodge his time, but I don't see any Div 2 cars within a second of his time, actually. The next best is Max Shepard in 8th place overall. So Tony Talviti confidently on pole, or at least provisional pole, in the Division 2 category. Let's see what Stojanovic does in Division 1. Out of the final corner, he's got a Ferrari ahead of him. Across the line. Oh, does improve on his lap, but isn't able to get close enough to Lons. Now, whether he can go for another lap or not, I don't know. Here's Phil Brown, he's 4th overall. Not close enough to Lons' time to really challenge, but may be able to take a fight to Mazurek for the top 3. As I was saying earlier, we don't have to worry about a championship since there is no championship standing for this. But if you do look at the normal DRM standings, the season that is still going on as we speak, the drivers to look out for today: Filip Stojanovic definitely in Division 1. Oh, as Brown goes off. Let's take a look at Lon, see if he is going any faster here. As Paul Anstey actually improves, he's in a Div 1. Okay, never mind. Yeah, let's see if Lons can go even faster towards the end of the session. Might be important if Stojanovic can improve. But yeah, I was going to say, Stojanovic and Lons definitely the favourites for this. They are equal on points, second in the main series championship. And then in Div 2, probably Tony Talviti. He's leading that by 21 points. And he's leading this qualifying session by quite a lot as well. Lons out of the final corner. Let's see if he can improve. I don't think he's going to. Across the line, 6/10 down. No improvement from Lons. What about Stojanovic? This could be important for pole position. And his split time comes through. Oh, he's only a 10th down. Okay, Stojanovic could still... I think he could still improve with this. It's going to be quite an ask to go P1 with this, but... we'll see. Into the Casio Triangle. He's going to be the second to last driver to set a lap, I think, because Max Shepard also has 1 to go. Through the final corner, Filip Stojanovic, and he will not improve, so Stojanovic goes down on his time. What about Shepard? Oh, coming across the Casio Triangle a little bit. Shepard looking, of course, for second in Div 2, although quite a way behind Talviti, I'm afraid to say. Across the line, and it is not an improvement. So that is your qualifying session done and dusted. Laurent Lons on pole position by 0.2 of a second from Filip Stojanovic. Then it's Michal Mazurek, Phil Brown, an incredible lap from Tony Talviti to put him miles in front of everyone else in the Division 2 category. James Russell, Jari Lakkinen, Paul Anstey. Then our second Div 2 driver is Max Shepard, and our third Div 2 is Jos Ogos. John van der Geest is 11th overall. And then we have Mark Jonzo, Maxim Tendel, Kenny Horton, and rounding out the field, the disappointed Kimi Martikainen. So those are the 15 drivers. Tudor Morris apparently also here. We'll have to see if he starts the race or not. And I think that's all of the drivers who are going to be doing this. So 16 possibly, 15 pretty much definitely. And the race starts in just a couple of minutes time. You see the wait time on the top left of the screen there. Before we see who will win this non-championship race. It's just for bragging rights here, no points available. but I'm sure that people will be treating it just as any other race, and trying to win just as much as normal. Vasilis Dumanas says, unfortunately my net provider was off, I couldn't register and race tonight. That is a shame, sorry to hear it, Vasilis. Would have been good to see you here, but anyway. Good evening to Brett Metcalf, who says hi in the YouTube chat. Good evening to you too, Brett. Hope you enjoy this this non-championship race that we've got in store for you today from the legendary Suzuka Grand Prix circuit. Here we go, the wait time ticking to naught, and we have 1 minute until the start of the race. Let's go through the cars quickly and show you which ones we have available. That is Lauren Lance in the Porsche 935. Filip Stojanovic, Toyota Celica 78. Phil Brown, Ferrari 308 81. Then we have another Porsche, and the first of the Div 2s, the Lancia 80. Great car, the Lancia Beta. Jari Lakkinen has a Ford Capri. Surprised to see the Capri so far down the order, but anyway, Lakkinen the only one today, I think. Max Shepard, BMW 2002. And now we await the lights. There were a couple of other cars I wasn't able to get to, Ford Escort for example. But anyway, the lights are about to go out, and then we will get ready to start this 1 hour race from Suzuka. Go, go, go! Away they head down towards turn 1. Let's take a look to the front of the order. Morris gets away relatively well, but he's got Stojanovic to his inside. Stojanovic has a good chance of taking the lead here into turn 1. They're still side by side. Lons runs slightly wide, and Stojanovic does take the lead. So Filip Stojanovic leads the race here, and Div 2 is still comfortably led by Tony Talviti, even though he lost a couple of places down towards turn 1. Stojanovic leads us up the hill. Look at the Div 2 cars. Max Shepard around the outside of Tony Talviti. Did he make it stick? Slight twitch. Did she make it stick? Sorry, slight twitch from Max Shepard, and he wasn't quite able to get around Tony Talviti's car. But a great run through Dunlop there. Look at that. Talviti had nothing to say about that. So Max Shepard now lives the Division 2 category. Now leads the Division 2 category, despite being a lot slower in qualifying. So Stojanovic, Lons, Mazurek as they head under the bridge. Shepard, Talviti and Ogos are the top 3 in Div 2. 16 cars did indeed start the race. Tudor Morris did start it. It's good to see. You'd have seen a 17th car on the grid, but ignore that. That's just the car that has to be in the server so that you see these camera views that you're witnessing right now. Talviti under attack from Paul Anstey. Now they're not fighting over class position, but in this non-championship race that won't matter too much. They are just going to be going for all out position, I'm sure. Down the straight towards 130R. Anstey is going to easily go through here. Much more power in the Ferrari. Anstey goes up to 8th place. We'll be getting closer and closer to Shepard's car as well, as some more positions continue to shuffle towards the back. That's to be expected when you have a mix of Div 1 and Div 2 cars. Now look at Jos Ogos, Talviti. I wonder whether Talviti just hasn't got his tyres up to temperature yet, because Ogos now all over the back of him. And Talviti was a lot quicker in qualifying. Shepard made a mistake there. Shepard ran over the grass. She's going to be a lot slower down the straight. Where's Talviti? Well, Talviti's still too far back. Talviti's under pressure from Ogos still. Look at that. We've got 2 of the top Div 2 cars going side by side into turn 1 very nearly. Getting away with it. Talviti still second. Talviti gets away with it. Ogos has to settle for 3rd, as Vandergeest dips a wheel into the grass behind. Vandergeest could still well get a Div 2 podium here. Yet to get one in the main series, but anyway, Brown has overtaken Mazurek, so that's for 3rd position there for Brown, ahead of Michal Mazurek in the bright yellow Porsche, and that's for 3rd place on just the 2nd lap of the race. as we head under the bridge. Suzuka, of course, one of the only figure-of-8 circuits in existence, apart from in Derby and Banger racing. This one of the figure-of-8s with bridges rather than large crashes, luckily. But still a very unique track layer. It gives you quite an even spread of tyre wear on the left and right hand side of your car. Tyre wear may be a factor here today, as it's a 1 hour race with no mandatory pit stop. Tendall's seemingly past Johnson further back. Down the straight again, what can Mazurek do about Brown? Porsches are typically very fast in a straight line, but I have to say that Ferrari's looking a bit more aerodynamic today. Down into the Casio triangle they go. And Brown runs slightly wide there. Mazurek taking a bit of a better line. Not getting so good of an exit there. But anyway. Oh, Ogos has now got past Talviti into the Casio triangle. That's a move done and dusted. So Jos Ogos through into second place in class. The gap for the lead in class, 4 seconds. Can Ogos reel it in? Ogos and Shepard had a... Oh, and Mazurek's gone back past Brown into turn 1. So Mazurek back through into third place. I was going to say Ogos and Shepard had a good fight at the Nürburgring until they came together. But anyway, Anstey and oh, who was that going sideways? Jari Lakkinen going off, rejoining right in front of Paul Anstey, managing to keep the place just about. Max Shepard there being held up a little bit in this. That's not going to be very good for her challenge, but she goes past Russell on the inside. The gap to Ogos still 3.6 seconds, but that did come down a little bit, or quite a bit actually, in the first sector of this course. Shepard being held up a little bit by these Div 1 cars, but not too much. Once again, Tendall and Ogos and Yonzo fighting. Sorry. Now I do want to keep an eye on Phil Brown, because these two have been swapping places over and over again all the way through the race. Jos Ogos is a lot closer to Russell and Shepard than he was before. Shepard's still in and amongst the Div 1 cars. Russell will probably go through on the straight. But how close will Ogos be by the end of this? Here we go, on to the back straight. Here comes Russell in the much faster Porsche. And he is going to go through on the outside. Shepard gives him room. Down into 130R and wide goes Anstey. Very sideways. Does he gather it up? Yes, he does. Just about. Doesn't take out the Div 1 leader. That would have been pretty gutting. But Shepard goes through into 6th. Passes both Anstey and Russell with that. But that was a big save from Anstey, and he goes around again almost. Anstey not in control of his car at this point in time. There is kicking out, and that is not good to see, but anyway. Ogos with a personal best lap of the race last time around, much quicker than Shepard's last lap. He is absolutely gaining. I've been really impressed by Ogos recently. No disrespect to him, but he didn't used to be so competitive. And then he suddenly had a turn of pace with his win, his 2 wins now in the rFacts 2 Historic F3 Championship. He won at Classic Spa, and then at Kyalami, and that was quite a dominant win actually. He was fighting hard with Barrett Ericsson, but I was in that race. I finished 3rd, and I could not keep up with them. They were just slipstreaming each other off into the distance. And Ogos has been doing great things in this DRM Championship as well. Had a wonderful start at the Lausitzring ring, ended up coming 2nd or 3rd on that day, I think probably 2nd. And then of course ended up winning his class at the Nürburgring. In the main DRM Championship, we've had 8 different winners from 4 different races. Work that one out. Of course, the 2 classes helping that to become a reality, but it's been a really close, really exciting one. And the next round of that is coming up on Thursday, so make sure you tune into that if you enjoy this kind of racing, which I'm sure I do, and I'm sure I will. Now onto the straight once again. Argos still under attack a little bit from Talviti. Talviti not right with him, but he's following him, even if not side by side with him right now. Stojanovic sets fastest lap of the race. 6.7 seconds, 6.8 seconds is his gap for the lead. Lons with a personal best, but it's nowhere near as close. My apologies. Anyway. So, on to another lap of racing. Argos and Talviti. Talviti's last lap, 0.3 of a second quicker on the dot. He's catching, but I wouldn't call it a full-on scrap just yet. Argos may be feeling the pressure. Takes a very different line from Talviti through that. And actually, Argos did drop back from Shepard on that last lap for the first time in a little while. Brown also getting close to Mazurek. Don't want to miss anything going on there. But so I'll keep an eye on the gap. But for now, Argos and Talviti looking more likely to change. The gap coming down at a faster rate of knots. Then again, Talviti not necessarily gaining on this lap. Through the Dunlop curve again. This is where the Lancia will be really, really quick. It's got a lot more downforce than the Escort there. The Escort more of an all-rounder. I'm afraid we've lost Kenny Horton. He's our first retirement from the race. But we do still have 15 cars running. It's a decent grid, even if it's much less than the main series tends to get. First 10 minutes of the race over. Stojanovic still leading from Lons and Mazurek. Shepard still leading Div 2 from Argos and Talviti. Shepard right on the back of Lackinen as it is. Shepard with a wonderful drive so far. Not entirely sure what happened to Talviti at the start. I was expecting him to really clear off with how competitive and how dominant he was in qualifying, but race pace and quali pace are two very separate things at times. And they don't translate into each other 100% of the time. Talviti definitely has the potential to win this race, but it's going to be tough now that he's behind not just Argos and Shepard, but the two Div 1 cars that separate him from Shepard as well. Through the final corner of this lap, Shepard is really in and amongst a feisty group of Div 1s up in front. Look at that. Surprised that Anstey didn't go through on the straight there. I thought he was going to be close enough. But anyway. And Brown once again passes Mazurek, and that's because Mazurek's in the barrier. So Mazurek's had a spin in the S's. He's lost third position. Oh, goodness me. Lackinen got a little distracted there. And everyone avoids him. That's good to see. Shepard now passing Mazurek. Shepard into the top 5 overall. What a drive from him. Now, does Mazurek have any damage? Let's ride on board with him for a little bit to see if he's still driving straight. It looks as if he had touched the wall. Hopefully he is okay. But yeah, I'll be pretty gutted to lose. Oh, look at that. And Talviti's had an incident, I think. Talviti, who was challenging for second, very slow through the Dunlop curve there, and he's lost 3 positions. Van der Geest, Tyndall and Johnson have all gone through there. What's happened to Shepard? Shepard spun! You also... Argos leads Div 2! Van der Geest is now second. Is Tyndall going to take third? Well, I didn't see what happened with Shepard there. She was fighting with Mazurek. I don't know whether they made contact. But that'll be pretty gutting. Shepard hasn't really been enjoying sim racing too much recently. She was... I've never heard her so gutted than she was after the round at the Nürburgring, where she was taken out on the last lap of the race. But anyway... So Tyndall did not go through into third place, could still. But Jonzo and Talviti still right there. But Jos Argos, what a turn in fortunes he's having. Van der Geest only 1.4 seconds back, so it's still anyone's game for Div 2 here. Tyndall's about to be passed by Jonzo on the straight. That is to be expected with Jonzo's much more powerful engine. Tyndall looking like he's going defensive, but that's going to be over well before the corner. Now, Tyndall... Oh, Jonzo is going sideways! Great save! Really, really good car control there from Mark Johnson, or Jonzo as he comes up in the game. That was quite something there. I was going to say, Tyndall would be wise to follow Jonzo here and see if he can pass Max Shepard in the process. But with Jonzo doing that, it's going to be tougher. Shepard now right up to the back of Van der Geest again, but sideways. Shepard maybe struggling for control. And Mazurek's off again. Mazurek spins it again through the second Degner this time. Jos Ogos going through. The Div 2 leader again. Does he see him? Yes, he does, luckily. So Ogos through into 7th overall. Mazurek down to 8th. The battle for 2nd in Div 2 immediately following them through. Up the hill towards Spoon. How close can Shepard get to Van der Geest before the straight? Slipstreaming does occur in these cars. It's not as effective as it would be in single-seaters, but it does occur. He needs to focus on the exit. Does Mac. A good drive, come on. Has the slipstream. Goes to the inside line. Now, she really needs to be through before the corner because, yeah, there we go. You don't want to be going side by side into 130R. And she just about makes the corner. A little bit over the curb, but she does make it. And Van der Geest not able to come back through into the Casio Triangle. So that's a position gained for Max Shepard, unless Van der Geest can come back at her again down the start-finish straight. Shepard will be trying to get closer and closer to Ogos. Her last lap 1.6 seconds faster than both Ogos and Van der Geest. Even faster than that with Van der Geest. So Shepard trying to once again reel in the Div 2 leader. Needs to make sure that she keeps it clean though. Don't make that mistake again. Mazurek has got past Ogos. He's starting to clear off again. So, with the exception of Mark Johnson and Kimi Martikainen and possibly, yes, also Tudor Morris, there is a clear Div 1, Div 2 split in this race, which is always nice to see. But anyway, into the Degners go Ogos and Shepard. They might not actually know that they are fighting for the Div 2 lead here, because there's no way in the game that you can see your class position, and really you have to keep track on that mentally, otherwise you don't know where you are in class. So there's a high chance that Ogos doesn't know that he's leading right now, and that Shepard doesn't know he's fighting for the class lead. She's fighting for the class lead. I remember back at the first round of the championship, back at Brands Hatch, Shepard was caught and passed by Dennis Matthews for the lead, and I spoke to Mac after the race and asked her why or how he got through so quickly, and she said, well, I simply didn't know I was fighting him. He came up behind me so fast I thought he was a Div 1 and I let him through. So it can be difficult. You really need to keep in mind which classes are, or which cars are in which class. Of course, Div 2, you have these three cars that we're looking at now, actually. You have the Ford Escort, as driven by by Jos Ogos. You have the BMW 2002, as driven by Max Shepard. And you have the Lancia Beta, as driven by John Van der Geest, a little way behind. Shepard much quicker than Ogos on the last lap there. A possible best Div 2 lap, although I don't know for sure. She is now right on the tail of Jos Ogos' car, less than half of a second behind, coming into turn 1 that time. And up the hill they climb. Jos Ogos, P8 overall. P1 in class, and he will care about the second much more than the first. And Max Shepard second in class, but I don't know if she knows it. Takes a wider line than Ogos through there, uses more of the track. But really, we'll need to wait for a straight to get close enough to attack here, or maybe a mistake from Ogos. Talviti now are passing Tendil, and that is because, well, it looked like something had gone wrong because two cars just swapped places at the same time. Tendil and Talviti almost rubbing door handles up towards Spoon. I think Talviti's going to keep that one, but Tendil coming back. Look at that. Tendil having a good race. Talviti not so much. Tendil close to the tail of Talviti's car, but they get away with it. Ooh! Almost spoke too soon there. Back to Shepard and Ogos. How close are they going to get down the straight here? Towards 130R. Shepard gaining. Towards the Casio Triangle. Goes for the move. Shepard on the outside line. Brakes slightly later. Oh, and slides it around. Does she keep second? No, she doesn't. Vandegee's through. Oh, and she lights up the rears in frustration. Max Shepard there, lighting up the rear tyres in frustration. Needs to grab first gear. Come on, Mac. Manages to rejoin, but I'm afraid she is now down to last position in class. That is going to be gutting for Mac there. I have to say it was her own mistake, I'm afraid. It's Cheetah Morris there, passes Tenny Talviti. But yeah, it was her own mistake. Ooh, contact! Morris into the grass. Gets away with it just about, although loses a position to Jonzo. So Ogos now leading from Vandegeest, and Tendil is now third in Div 2. Let's have a look at Russell and Anstey. As for Shepard, it's so easy. When you've made a mistake and you're trying to rejoin the road and you see a car going past you, it's so easy to just light up the rear tyres before your car's ready for it and go around, as Shepard did. But that doesn't mean she's not going to be kicking herself. Martikainen in the pits. Now, I'm not expecting any scheduled pit stops today, and look at that steering. So Martikainen's had a mistake and has missed his pit box, but he's gone back for it. Now, if there's any consolation for Shepard, it's that this, of course, is a non-championship race. So, while otherwise he would have been losing a lot of points to his main rivals, like Talviti, in this race, she doesn't have to worry about that. And she would be forgiven now for just taking it easy and trying to enjoy the rest of the race. But anyway, oh, Lakinen's been off from 4th there. So that's a change of place. Jari Lakinen, who was doing a pretty decent job, running higher than he's run in any of the main DRM series races so far this year, has now been passed by Anstey and Russell, who have gone up to 4th and 5th positions. Mazurek now has a clear target up ahead as Martikainen rejoins the race there a lap down. Russell still close to Anstey in all of this. P4 and P5 overall, after gaining a place on that last lap. We're over a third of the way in now. Stojanovic still leading from Lons. The gap now 10 seconds. This has been a great drive from Stojanovic. And it's Brown, Anstey, Russell, and Lakinen, Mazurek. The top Div 2 car after after Shepard's mistake is once again Jos Ogos, and it's John Vandegee second in Div 2, followed by Maxim Tendil, Tony Talviti, Mark Jonzo, Cheetah Morris, Max Shepard, and Kimi Martikainen rounding out the field. And Martikainen is apparently off again, and Martikainen out of the race, I'm afraid. So Martikainen, who was just pointing pointing backwards in the Degners, is out of the race, and that means guttingly that Shepard is now last of the people still in the race. Oh, but maybe not for long. Talviti's had an incident, and Talviti's out the race. So there goes Tony Talviti. 3 retirements. 13 drivers remaining. And that is a shame from the driver who looked so dominant in qualifying. Who I was pretty convinced, I've got to admit, was going to win this race. In Div 2 at least. But now that is not going to be the case. I don't even know where on track that was, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. Because all the same, Tony Talviti is out of this race. Is the camera still on that place? Yeah, where on track was it? Oh, Degner's. Okay. Classic place to have an incident. And quite an easy place to go off as well. Russell still trying to reel in Anstey on the straight. Anstey 20 seconds behind Brown, so there's a clear track in front of him. But that means that he is well and truly unprotected when it comes to fighting Russell behind. Through the S's again. Morris is apparently past Jonzo for P11 overall. Up the hill. Big slide from Lackinen again. He's gathered it up, I think. Yep, there he goes. Nicely done from Lackinen. But Mazurek now right on his tail. Let's have a look at Mazurek actually. These 4 look set to change. Anstey, Russell, Lackinen and Mazurek. Luckily we can just about keep them in one camera view, as they're close enough. It's not really a 4-way battle yet. Lackinen a little way, 2 seconds behind Russell. But certainly could end up being that way. And there go your Div 2 leaders, Ogos and Van der Geest. 1 second separating the two of them. Getting pretty close in that battle. Van der Geest really coming on strong in this second third of the race. Van der Geest now within a second of Ogos' time, or within a second of Ogos himself. So let's keep an eye on that, as Jonzo once again passes Morris. 11th and 12th, and Morris I think has had an incident maybe. Where is he? Yep, Morris definitely recovering from some kind of off. Drops to the very back of the field, I'm afraid, in the Div 1 cut. Pretty awful day for him so far, I'm afraid to say. Here's Van der Geest. Catching Ogos at a considerable rate of knots. This lap is going to be about half a second faster than Ogos is by at this rate. And John Van der Geest is still absolutely a contender for the Div 2 victory here, despite not having picked up even a podium in the main series. Nice little helicopter flying over the top there. Indeed, Van der Geest's last lap, almost 3/10 of a second faster than Ogos's. And he's catching. Ogos feeling the pressure. Uses a bit more of the track through turn 1 there. Of course, then you run the risk of being unsettled by the curb, but Ogos seemed to hook it up rather nicely. I think it's about time we rode on board with someone. John Van der Geest hunting down Jos Ogos. Lancia versus Escort. Van der Geest with a slightly better line through that. Keeping it tighter. Into the Degner curves now. You really have to flick it over the first curb. The second one is more of a dip. You can feel the car bottoming out. Very fun section of the course. I quite enjoy it. It's difficult to learn with a new car, but once you've got it, you've got it. And then it's a lot of fun. That chicane maybe not so much. It's difficult not to spin it on the exit there, like Max Shepard may have done earlier. But yeah, Lackinen apparently has just passed Russell for P5 overall, and Russell losing 2 places actually, because Mazurek's just gone through with him. Indeed, there they go, up the hill. So Lackinen now 5th, followed by Mazurek and Russell. Ogos and Van der Geest still together. They're onto the straight now. How close can Van der Geest get? Now, if the battle with Shepard is any indication, Ogos is slightly vulnerable on the exit of 130 towards the Casio Triangle. Van der Geest not close enough to have a move there though. Into the Casio triangle they go. I think Argos had a slight twitch on the exit there. Could be vulnerable coming down the straight. Van der Geest a lot closer, yes indeed. It looks as if he is going to be vulnerable towards turn 1 here. Both very fast cars. Van der Geest has the run though. But Argos covers him off. Van der Geest wide and over the curb, doesn't get unsettled. Although it's slightly wide on the second apex as well, doesn't quite touch it. This is a tense battle for the lead in the Division 2 category right now. There you can see some of the cars in the background there, just through the fence. On the opposite side of the track. And Van der Geest still following Argos closely. Jos Argos is the most recent winner of a DRM race, having won the round at the Nordschleife, or at least in the Div 2 category. The Div 1 race was won by Matteo Santini, who isn't here today. And I should apologise to Argos actually, because it wasn't he who made contact with Shepard on the last lap of the Nordschleife. Like I said it was earlier, it was indeed Henri Miettinen. And Shepard probably should have finished that race, but apparently, according to her, she pressed the wrong button and ended up being teleported back to the pits. But anyway, Michal Majerek has passed Jari Lakkinen and runs slightly wide there. Whether he got past in that way or not, I don't know, but anyway, he is through into P5. With Lakkinen and Russell still right on his tail. Lakkinen, ooh, fishtailing. That was really good car control, gathering it up. A lot of people would panic and overcorrect that, but anyway, here comes Russell on the inside. Has to pick out of it. What about Argos and Van der Geest? They're even closer than they were a lap ago. Although this time I don't think Van der Geest has the same run. Or maybe he does. No. Oh, and they both go very wide. Van der Geest even wider. Van der Geest went through the gravel there. Loses out in the process. That was sketchy. It's so easy to just follow someone off in sympathy, and that's exactly what Van der Geest did there. Argos was having his own moment, and Van der Geest just doubled it. Tyndall is under attack from Shepard. Shepard could still get a class podium here. And they're both being held up by Mark Jonzo. This is really shaping up this battle here, shaking up this battle. Shepard touching the grass slightly, getting away with it. Up the hill they go towards the Degners. Shepard trying to duck underneath Tyndall's car, unsettle him into the Degners. Tyndall not unsettled enough, but that was actually quite good aggressive driving there from Shepard. Shepard now alongside Tyndall's car and goes through into the hairpin. So Max Shepard back into the class podium once again. Does she keep it this time? I think it's probably a bit too late to start catching the cars ahead. She is a long way. Oh! And contact with Jonzo. Jonzo lost it. Did Shepard make it through? No, she's spinning. Shepard's still spinning. Tyndall goes back through into class third place. Shepard has had a torrid time. That is gutting. Recovers to the race, and that did not look like her fault. Now, I didn't see what started that incident, but they were separate. Jonzo and Shepard were separate. Jonzo appeared to be having his own accident and just collected Shepard. Now, does Shepard have any damage from that? Surely, I don't think so, but surely her tyres are pretty dead because of the multitude of spins she's had today, I'm afraid. And that one, seemingly not her fault at all, with Mark Jonzo losing control all on his own. But yeah, that does put Maxim Tyndall back up into third position with that. So, Ogos and Van der Geest still... Well, Van der Geest has caught right back up to Ogos here. They were separate, of course, after their little excursion. But now they are back together. It's what you call magnetic rivals, Ogos and Van der Geest. Hopefully they're able to avoid the attraction and not run into each other. Under the bridge. Let's see if we see any cars going over it. That would be cool. Nah, not that time. That would have been a cool shot though. There's some very famous shots from the old Monza circuit when they used the when they used the extended circuit with the banking and the normal race circuit back in the 50s and 60s, of cars going under the banking as others went over it. Really cool shots those were. And I believe we had that a couple of times in the GPL series when we did that, but yeah. Russell passing Lackinen for P6 overall. Oh, and he's off. I think he just overshot it slightly, trying to pass Lackinen in that. Lackinen back through to 6th. Kimmy Diesel, so that will be Kimmy Matikainen, says, "Hi Caitlin, Salika blew up, so watching stream now." Sorry to hear it, Kimmy. Glad to see you still sticking with this event though. Must be pretty gutting, but anyway. You do have a exciting battle, a tense fight for the lead of Div 2 to watch. Ogos versus Van der Geest. And we still have 25 minutes of this to go, luckily for us. Ogos Tendel. Sorry, Ogos Van der Geest Tendel in Div 2 with Tendel under pressure from Morris. Morris probably going through on the next straight. This circuit, of course, pretty legendary in the world of Grand Prix racing. Many championships have been decided here, and you know, famously the Prost-Senna wars of the late 1980s and early 1990s. The Grand Prix circuit was built in 1962. It's a Honda test circuit. Certainly more so back at that era, but I think it still technically is. And it has hosted Grand Prix since the mid-80s. And it's a very welcome addition to any calendar. Getting a little more difficult to overtake in recent years. It's a bit of a twisty circuit, definitely high downforce, but it does still provide some opportunities. If you can slipstream a car here from Spoon through 130R down towards the Casio Triangle, you definitely have an opportunity to outbrake your opponent. Turn 1 is also a good opportunity if you can get a run out of the final corner, and sometimes the hairpin too, but that's more difficult. Although the flick in does appear to encourage overtaking manoeuvres. Tudor Morris there passing Tendel in a straight line, and has he gone off? Yes, he has. Tudor Morris having a little incident to the inside there. And he's out. Oh, that's a shame. 4 retirements now to this race. 12 remaining. And yeah, the 4th retirement after what appeared to be an incident in 130R. I don't know if it was with Tudor Morris, although his engine was suspiciously quiet, so I don't know if that was the case. Let me check actually. When was the first official Japanese Grand Prix here? 1987 was the first one at this circuit. It had a brief absence from the calendar as it was being resurfaced. 2007 and 2008 it was absent, but returned for 2009. Sebastian Vettel won it 4 times back in the day. Lewis Hamilton has won it 5 times. Michael Schumacher, repeat winner here as well. And of course, all of the standard big names that you would expect. And there were also Formula 1 Japanese Grand Prix held here as well, 1963 and 1964. There was an official Japanese Grand Prix that was not held to Formula 1 regulations. It was sports cars the first time, then Formula Junior. And those were won by some names that I don't really recognise. Peter Waugh has a Wikipedia page at least. Michael Knight not so much, but yeah, all of the names you'd recognise in the Formula 1 era: Senna, Piquet, Hill, Schumacher, Hakkinen, etc., etc. And at the minute, it's looking like Stojanovic is going. Oh, who went off there? I believe that was Russell. So Russell dropping back behind the Div 2 leaders and pulling over. And his engine also suspiciously quiet. So I think we're about to have another retirement. I wonder if we're having engine failures today, because there have been a couple of times where there doesn't appear to be a proper incident and drivers have just had their engines cut out. That's a little weird. You don't normally get that in Assetto Corsa. But yeah, he didn't appear to really hit anything. Oh, and he's found a gear, so I don't think that was an engine failure. James Russell returns to the circuit. He's last, but at least he's in the race. Van der Geest, I think, made a mistake. He's dropped back from Ogos a little bit. Let's watch Mike Jonzo for a bit. Looks as if he might be about to put Tyndall back under pressure again. These two not fighting for class honours, but still could have an effect on the Div 2 standings by the end of this, depending on how much Tyndall is held up by this, because Shepard is approaching. Just under 20 minutes to go until the timer ticks to 0. Stojanovic still leading this race by 11 seconds, almost 12 seconds from Laurent Lons. Then it's Phil Brown, Paul Anstey, Michal Mazurek, Jari Lakkinen. Jos Ogos is still leading Div 2, followed by John Van der Geest, who is once again catching up to him. Then it's Maxime Tyndall third in that. Tyndall under pressure from Jonzo, who will probably go through on the straight. Then it's Shepard, after her multitude of spins, I'm afraid to say. And then Russell at the back of the field after that strange incident that we just witnessed, where the engine just seemed to cut off and then come back on again. But anyway, onto the back straight they go. Here comes Jonzo. And the Porsche straight line speed carries it closer to Tyndall. He's going to have to back off here though, into 130R. It's not a place you want to attempt an overtaking manoeuvre. And Tyndall's still going to be ahead here, down into the Casio Triangle. Van der Geest on that last lap set a personal best lap of the race. He is still absolutely charging, going for the lead from Jos Ogos. This is not over yet. Here go Tyndall on Jonzo once again. Jonzo over a second faster on that last lap and going through to the inside, up into 9th overall. Oh, Tyndall is being held up a little on the exit of turn 1 there. This is Shepard's chance. Shepard's got to fly now to catch back up to Tyndall and a top 3 in class. Tyndall will be dropping back slightly from Jonzo on the straights, keeping with him in the corners. It looks as if the Div 2 cars about the same pace as the Div 1s through the corners, if not, well, I don't think slightly faster. I think that may be down to drivers and setups, but definitely about the same pace as the Div 1s. Shepard very wide there, you can tell how much she's pushing, and rightfully so. Here's Mazurek, he's caught up to Anstey, my apologies. Oh, look at that, almost rubbing wheels into the Casio Triangle. Anstey covers it off. No way you're coming through in the second part, he says. and that will give Mazurek a slightly worse run down the straight. But yeah, Mazurek 0.7 of a second faster on that last lap. Very, very fast. There's turn 1. Mazurek putting Anstey under pressure. Mazurek had a chance to finish on the podium earlier on, until of course he had a couple of spins. But he is still in contention for 4th place here. Possibly a podium if things go wrong up in front, but I'm not wishing to cause something to happen, to jinx it, but anyway. Towards the Degner curves again. Mazurek and Lackinen over the curb. Mazurek looking a little quicker, a little more feisty at this point in the race. Little twitch, but that's okay. Into the hairpin again. The tricolor liveried Ferrari up ahead. Very Italian looking car, driven by a non-Italian, Paul Anstey. Michal Mazurek, the Polish driver in the bright yellow Porsche. Mazurek a lot more competitive in single-seaters, very, very good in historic Formula 3s, modern Formula 3s. I'm actually having a pretty close championship fight with him for, I think, did Brad just have a... I think Brown may have had a twitch or something, because his name came up in red briefly, but anyway, seems to have got away with it. But as I was saying, I'm having quite a close championship fight with Mazurek in the modern Formula 3 championship on R-Factor 2, and that's a slide from Jonzo. Gets away with it. As Shepard is now onto the back of Tyndall again. Max Shepard still yet to win a race in SimRacingOnline. She's getting quite frustrated with that actually, because you know, we're quite close friends, and I've had, not to boast or anything, but I've had a couple of, or several wins now in SimRacingOnline, and Shepard is still yet to get one. But anyway, Mazurek passing Anstey, that's for 4th overall, manages to make it stick. Shepard is now ahead of Tyndall, down into 130R, so Shepard is now into a class podium once again. This is about the 4th time that she's got up into a podium position. Maybe this time she'll keep it. Tyndall not wanting to take it lying down though. Maxim Tyndall, I think also yet to get... Oh no, Tyndall has had a win in SimRacingOnline. Now where was that? No championship wins, but has had a victory apparently, and that was in the Alfa Romeo 33 Stradale Campionato earlier this year. But yeah, a pole position in the Porsche 718 Classic Tour as well. Can be pretty quick at times. Possibly struggling a little today. Had a good start to the race, but seems to have dropped off a little later on. Not helped by the fact that some of his closest rivals are out of the race, but anyway, Tyndall's still continuing, and that is good to see. Now we're over a second behind Shepard though, so looks as if that fight for 3rd may be over for the time being. What can Anstey do about keeping with Mazurek? It's going to be tough, I think. Mazurek has been pretty quick all day, run slightly wider. I think it's just a difference in lines through the Casio triangle there. Anstey slightly cutting the second curb, but that won't be too much of an issue. Mazurek a lot faster on that last lap, partly due to the move. So, who do you wanna see in this race? Anyone you want me to ride on board with? If you have any requests, leave it in the chat. But this race still very much not over. It's calmed down a little bit at this point in time, but that does tend to happen at this point in the race. It's just kind of how things work at times. Let's have a look at Jari Lakkinen. Haven't seen much of him yet today. Very thick wheel in that Ford Capri. That looks very comfortable. A lot of control. You can get through one like that. And the Ford Capri, probably the biggest car in this league, probably the heaviest. It's very wide, lots of ground effects, big slide. Gets away with it. Jari Lakkinen running very much on his own in this race at this point in time. No one around him, and due to the fact that lap reads aren't a huge factor in this race, he won't have to worry about that too much. Through the hairpin, kicking out the tail again. Lovely driving style. May not be the quickest way around the course, but let's face it, we all love to see sideways cars. It's a little bit of a shame that Tim Muttram isn't here today, because he always has the best driving style in my opinion. Because he manages to incorporate all-wheel drifts and make it fast, and often faster than anyone else. But yeah, Muttram opting not to do this non-championship race and focus on the next round of the main championship, which he looks likely to win, the round at Sebring. And as I said, if you want to tune into that, it's in just 3 days' time on Thursday, and I would absolutely encourage you all to go and watch that, because it's going to be a lot of fun. Even more drivers than we have today as well. Less than 10 minutes to go in this race now, or at least until the checkered flag gets prepared and waiting at the ready. Van der Geest is still not giving up on Ogos, is he? He is a second behind him at this point in time. But yeah, that fight for the lead in Div 2 is still not over. Max Shepard still running pretty well in third in class. A little bit unlucky that she's so far behind the top two, but anyway, still going to pick up a class podium for her troubles at this rate. And here, once again, are Ogos and Van der Geest. Jos Ogos, Ford Escort, John Van der Geest, Lancia Beta. Van der Geest with a little bit more SimRacingOnline experience than Ogos. Van der Geest, one of the staff members of the league. He's done 268 races overall. That's quite something. Yeah, 268 races. Won 26 of them, and hasn't won a championship this year. He did win one of the special events earlier, the multi-class classic race at Longford. He won that after taking pole. But actually hasn't got a proper championship victory since 2018, where he won the Group C Honeyjar Series, as well as Group C Flat 6 Multi-Class Endurance, both classes in that apparently, and Alfa Romeo 8C Cup. But yeah, hasn't had too much success since then. Hoping to win another special event today. Jos Ogos only has 3 wins in SimRacingOnline, but has far fewer races, only 20 races, 20 events. This will be his 21st. And as I mentioned earlier, those wins were 2 in the Historic F3, 1 in Div 2, and actually, apparently he's on 4 victories now, because he recently won one of the rounds. Oh no, he won the test round of yeah, he won the test round of the... Actually, I may be getting that wrong, sorry. Automobilista 2 Caterham Superlight Test round 2. Won that. Not sure if that counts or not. I'm a little thrown off by the name Test in the title, but anyway. whatever the case, won that. And he's currently leading that championship, actually. Oh my goodness, out of Yucca Drug. Well, that's quite something. If you can beat Yucca, you know you're doing well. Anyway. So, towards the hairpin. Jos Ogos and John van der Geest once again. Van der Geest catching Ogos. Will he get through before the end of the race? Your guess is as good as mine. He's been challenging for most of the race, really. Maybe 30 or so minutes of it now. He's been getting closer, then making a mistake, then dropping back, then getting closer again, then challenging, then again dropping back. But maybe this time it will be different, with the extra incentive of the timer ticking down. Onto the straight they go. Van der Geest in the slipstream. 7 tenths. 8 tenths, so it came out a little on the straight there. I wonder whether that's why Van der Geest is struggling to get past Ogos. Oh, Lackinen I think's had an incident. Yep, run wide at the final turn. Luckily, he's on his own, so no one else was involved. But yeah, maybe that's why Van der Geest is struggling to get past Ogos so much, because it's harder to pass someone in the corners than on the straights. If you're better in the corners than on the straights, you're going to struggle a bit more to overtake the car in front of you. Kimmy Diesel says Mac will overtake Jonzo. Yeah, probably. That would be for 9th overall. Shepard is gaining half a second behind at this point half a second gained on that last lap. But they are in different classes, so it won't really matter that much for the overall result. But anyway. And of course Shepard needs to get far ahead enough in the corners that Jonzo won't just blast straight back through in a straight line, which is looking relatively likely. Reminds me of that classic touring car race from Mexico City, the one where Kimi Matikainen got a wonderful start in a Mercedes, and then no one could really overtake him because they'd pass him in the corners, but then he'd just blast straight back past them on the straight with the superior straight line speed of the Mercedes he had at the time. But this a slightly different situation, since this is a multi-class championship rather than the single class we technically had with the TC Legends series. Onto the back straight again go Ogos and Van der Geest. Only a couple of seconds behind Lackinen after Lackinen's spin, but Lackinen should be getting away a little bit now. He was far enough ahead of them before. This is going to go right down to the line between Ogos and Van der Geest, I expect. And whoever wins this will absolutely deserve it between the two of them, because of how hard they've had to fight for it and how close they have been for so long. Across the line again, under the gantry. 9 tenths of a second. And probably 2 more laps, depending on where Filip Stojanovic is on the lap. Stojanovic actually less than 10 seconds out of Lons now, but that's mainly because he doesn't really need to push at this point in the race. He's got so much of a gap that it doesn't matter. And the timer ticking down at such a rate that it's going to take more than just that to overthrow him. Lauren Lund's still doing a good job in second place though. We've barely seen the top 2 in this race. We've been so focused on the top 2 in Division 2. Luckily those cars aren't sponsored, because otherwise those sponsors would be getting pretty much no screen time at all, I'm afraid. But that's because it's more important not to miss something that's going on for the other class. So, Ogos and Van der Geest who may well... Oh, Van der Geest very sideways, had a big twitch. He's going to be losing time to Urgos with that one. Could that be his last opportunity to get past Urgos gone down the drain? He hasn't lost that much time. But remember, they only have one more lap to fight this out after this one. My goodness. Let's have a look at where Stojanovic is on the lap. I barely remember what his car looks like. He's catching Shepard actually, and I think he is going to get one more lap by the looks of things. There go Jonzo and Shepard, and there is Stojanovic in the Toyota Celica. Very, very fast down the straight into 130R. Very wedge-shaped car. You can tell it's from the late 70s, early 80s. It's just that kind of style. Wouldn't really call it beautiful, but I'm sure that Stojanovic would, because he is so fast in it. On to the final lap of the race, but let's look at Van der Geest and Urgos quickly. I'm not sure that they have enough to change it, and actually, unless Stojanovic goes through, they may get one more lap, because Stojanovic is still back here. So yeah, I think Urgos and Van der Geest may still get one more lap after this one. That's good for us. It's one of those races where you don't want to hide, where you do want to hide the checkered flag. Just to see what happens between the two of them, if they do go side by side. But anyway, Stojanovic is close to the end of the race. He's only got about 2/3 of a lap to go now. Little twitch. He can afford to back off just to avoid catching this traffic, possibly safer. Not sure that he will, but anyway. Under the bridge. I think a car may have gone over the top there, but I couldn't see it. That's the trouble with having cars that are too flat. But anyway. I've got some Van der Geest still. Look at that gap. 7 tenths, 6 tenths. 6 tenths again, 7 tenths. It's fluctuating. They have one more lap. Shepard and Jonzo are in their own little scrap now, just up ahead. Jonzo will be gaining time on this straight. They have one more lap as well, unless Stojanovic gets through. Down the straight they go, and you can tell by Stojanovic and... And I think that Jonzo's backing off there so that he doesn't have to do another lap. Or maybe he's run out of fuel. But if he can coast to the line, he should be okay. Stojanovic about to win here at Suzuka. It's been an incredible drive. Stojanovic absolutely controlling it after getting through to the lead on the first lap. Filip Stojanovic through the final corner. And he wins here at Suzuka. A fantastic drive, and we barely saw any of him. Now let's look at the battle for the Div 2 Crown. They do have another lap to go. I don't think Jonzo made it to the line. Look at that, he's still coasting. It's all downhill from there, so maybe he can make it. But anyway, it won't matter too much because he's going to be last anyway, I'm afraid to say. Urgos and Van der Geest continuing to fight. Lauren Lons is second in the race. We're still waiting for Phil Brown to come through. He was a little way back, I'm afraid to say, but there we go. Phil Brown, third place. Good drive from him. Well done to the top 3 in Division 1. Stojanovic, Lons and Brown. The top 3 in Division 2 are going to be the last 3 cars to cross the line. And it is going to be a finale worth waiting for. What can Van der Geest do about Urgos? Can he risk anything on the final lap of the race? Runs slightly wide, does he? There's Lackinen. Urgos 7 tenths of a second behind Van der Geest, 7 tenths of a second behind Urgos. 8 tenths. I don't think he's close enough. They've only got one braking zone to come up now. Slight lift through 130R. And here we go. It looks to me as if Jos Ogos is going to hold on to the Division 2 victory here. Through the final corner, he has repeated the feat that he managed at the Nordschleife, and under so much pressure. Jos Ogos wins Division 2, John van der Geest is second, but what a race, what a close finish between the two of them. And Max Shepard, after all of her troubles, is going to finish third in class for a well-deserved podium. There we go, Shepard around the final corner and across the line, the last finisher. And Jonzo, I think, made the line. Yeah, just about. Good for him. But anyway, a fun day of racing here at Suzuka. Filip Stojanovic won, followed by Laurent Lons, Phil Brown, Michal Mažrek, Paul Anstey, Jari Lakkinen. Then our Div 2 winner, Jos Ogos, who finished on the lead lap overall, incidentally. John van der Geest, Max Shepard, Maxime Tendil, James Russell, Mark Jonzo, and then our retirements, Sheeta Morris, Tony Talviti from the pole position of Div 2, Kevin Martikainen and Kenny Horton. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. And I will see you in 3 days' time now, on Thursday, at the same time, 8 PM British time, for the next round of the official DRM Championship, which will be from Sebring. So yeah, make sure you don't miss that one, and until then, good night, goodbye.